Hello class, today we are going to study the passive voice. When we communicate, we normally use the active voice. What is important is who or what is performing the action of the verb, and therefore we put him, her or it at the beginning of the sentence. But what happens when we focus on the object or the person that receives the action? That we use the passive voice to emphasize their importance. So we decide who or what is the subject depending on what or who we grant the main role to in the sentence. Using the passive voice in English is quite easy. We just need the verb to be plus the past participle of the verb that is used in the active voice. Some verbs, such as give, can have two objects. For example, he gave me the book. Both me and the book can become the subjects of the passive voice sentence, depending on what we think is more important. So the two possible sentences in the passive voice are the book was given to me and I was given the book. The subject of the active voice does not disappear in all cases. It only does when it has no importance in the sentence. If it appears, it is preceded by the preposition by. Let's see some examples. So, in order to transform the object of an active sentence into the subject of a passive one, we have to place it at the beginning. Then, as we have seen, we have to conjugate the verb to be in the same tense as the main verb in the active voice, and then add the past participle of the specific verb. Remember that if you want to keep the performer of the action, you have to use the preposition by. Here you have a table with a few examples of how the verbs are used. For example, if you go to the future simple, you see that the sentence is I will make a cake. The cake becomes the main focus of the sentence in the passive voice, and as the tense used in the active voice was future simple, you have to conjugate the verb to be in that same tense, and then add the past participle of the verb make, will be made. Finally, you can add by me if you want to stress somehow who is performing the action. Let's see another example. We have a simple sentence in the active voice. Someone has stolen my car. We have three different parts: subject, verb, and object. Someone, the subject, is not really important. We don't know exactly who stole the car, so it can be placed at the end of the sentence. My car is the most important piece of information, so it must be placed at the beginning of the new sentence. What do we do with the verb? We use the same tense, past perfect, with the verb to be, from has stolen to has been, and we add the past participle of the verb to it, stolen, has been stolen. And, as we said before, do we know who stole the car? Obviously, it must have been stolen by someone, so adding by someone does not give any relevant information, and we can end the sentence without that. My car has been stolen contains the same information that the sentence above, but it puts all the stress on the stolen object, my car, while we remove the non-significant information. Here you have some extra information about the passive voice. Same as the active voice, it can be used in affirmative, negative, and interrogative sentences. The use of the passive voice does not always mean that the performer of the action is not important. It is a question of who or what one prefers to give the most relevant place in the sentence. In other words, who or what one chooses to be the subject. A passive voice sentence containing modal verbs or other verbs that are usually followed by an infinitive needs to be used with infinitives. This also happens with verbs that are usually followed by a gerund or by a preposition before a gerund. This means that we have to follow the same rule of using the verbs at same tense as in the active voice and of using the same verbal structure. Let's review what we have learned in this unit. We use the passive voice to emphasize the importance of the object or the person that receives the action. In order to transform an active sentence into a passive one, we have to use the verb to be in the same tense that is used in the active voice, and then add the past participle of the verb used in the active voice. If the performer of the action is important and must be mentioned, we can do so by using the preposition by. The passive voice can be used in affirmative, negative, and interrogative sentences. We can transform a passive voice sentence into an active one and vice versa. It only depends on who or what you think is more important and therefore should be the subject of the sentence. Don't get the wrong idea that the passive voice is a hard issue. It is easier than it seems. We have selected 2 blocks of online exercises for you to practice. This first set of exercises is quite easy and will help you to learn how to use the passive voice properly. The second set is a bit more complicated, but those exercises are easy too, so we hope you don't have any problems solving them. If you have any trouble, please contact us and let us know. Thank you for your attention, and we hope you have enjoyed this unit.